Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and some of you may know me for my book blog over on WordPress called Lit for Queers. Some of you have never seen my face, which is totally okay. In that case, hi, nice to meet you. This is my absolute first video on YouTube, so bear with me while I learn the craft, the editing, the everything. Always open to comments and suggestions, just make them nice. And before we get into recommendations, we get into a lot more fun topics, I would love to take a couple of minutes to introduce myself, tell you why I came to YouTube, tell you what I plan to do on YouTube, and then give you 5 queer favorite books. Yeah, they're not just novels, so they're books in general, to get to know me a little better and to see if we have similar tastes. I do read quite a lot of genres, so feel free to stay around even if those 5 favorites don't match yours, because I have loads of recommendations for you, whatever genre you like, whatever grade of reading you like, whether that's middle school, high school, young adult, literary fiction, poetry, anything. I will go ahead and have those. First, introductions. My name is Sarah, as I said it before. My name can be pronounced as Sarah, Sara. It does not have an H at the end, but I'm not particular about how you pronounce my name. I'm originally from Italy, but I currently live in the south of Sweden with my amazing boyfriend. And I came here 2 years ago, almost to the day, to pursue my master's degree. And before that, I was in Scotland for 5 years. And so if you are interested in Scottish queer recs or any UK-related queer recommendations, let me know. I have a bunch and they're great. Now I'm embarking on this YouTube journey. And you might wonder, why the heck have you done that? You said you have a blog. Why not stick into that? Fair question. I've had my blog since 2018. So that was my first year of my bachelor's in Edinburgh. And I've brought it on up until now. And I still plan on writing there. But I wanted to challenge myself. And why not do that while I also acquire new skills, which is editing and talking to a little camera, which is really frightening. If you haven't done it, I suggest you do that before criticizing anybody. But as I said before, feel free to comment, give any suggestions on everything. And before you ask, yeah, I am sitting on the floor. Sometimes that's what people want to do. And I just thought that was a prettier view for you guys than the back of my couch. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm sitting on the floor and you kind of see the door on that side. But talking about my YouTube channel, so what I aim to do here is become your go-to channel for any and all queer content. When I say content, I mainly mean books, but that's not going to be all. I definitely aim to give you some TV series recommendations, do some film reviews, but also something that I'm really passionate about is talking about queer theory. I think there's such a divide between academia and the general public and what is being spread from academia to the general public when it concerns matters of gender and sexuality. And I think if I can do a little bit of that work of in educating people on certain icons of queer rights or queer theory, people that have written extensively about what it means to be queer and to live as a queer person in society, then I'd love to do that, and I hope you stick around for those videos too. One thing that I have to disclose about me is that I absolutely love my Kindle. Give a shout out to to my Kindle readers. And I also do love my public libraries. I'm lucky enough that Sweden is incredibly well furnished in their public libraries. And so a lot of the times you will see me with library books, or you will see me recommending books that I don't have in physical form. I hope that this won't discourage you from following me and subscribing to this channel, because I really do love recommending books and just chatting about books and making sure that people have the best experiences while reading them. I know that not everybody has the same tastes as me. I know that not everybody will love my favorite books, and I might hate some of yours too. Don't attack me for this. But I hope you will stick around, even though there won't be any, or not a lot of book hauls or bookshelf tours. I hope you will still bear with me. And now for my queer favorite books. So I have narrowed down the list to 5. I definitely have many more that hold a dear place in my heart, but I wanted to kind of show you what my tastes are like. So I have some of them here actually. I have 3 out of 5 here, which I think it's a good number. So let me see. So the first one I want to talk to you about, or briefly mention, is Crush by Richard Sicken. I think that's how you say his last name. You know, funnily enough, I've had this book since I was 18, I think, and I'm 26 now, and for some reason I never researched how to pronounce his last name. But with all that being said, this is an excellent poetry collection that has stuck with me since I was 18, as I said. I don't think anything has made me feel the way that Sicken's writing has made me feel over and over again. Every time I go back to it, and it's at least a couple times a year, I think of new things, and I see this poetry in different perspectives, under different lights, and I think this is what makes poetry so good. The fact that you read it in different times of your life. You can read the same poem 15,000 times in your lifespan, and every time it will give you something new. And if you want to know a piece of lore from my past, the reason why I bought this book was that the final poem in this collection was a poem that was everywhere on Tumblr when I was 18, especially on edits of Derek and Styles of Teen Wolf. And if you guys have an idea of what poem I'm referring to, please write it down below. I would love to know if anybody's discovered Sicken because of it. So this is my first recommendation, and this is my first get to know me queer book. And with that done, the second book couldn't be more different than this poetry collection, and that is Delila Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. So this is a rom-com in the best sense. We've got the tropes of sunshine / black cat kind of vibes, and I highly recommend this. The author has published 2 more books set in the same universe, following on 2 more queer characters. And I really enjoyed the Astrid and Iris's books as well. But Delilah's book, which is this one, has just kept a place in my heart. And another piece of lore here, this book was recently translated into Italian. I think they kept the same title in English. Sometimes translation just changed the titles as well, especially in Italian, where not a lot of people know English that well. But what I wanted to get at was that a friend of mine has done the translation, the official translation for this book. So if you're interested in reading it, but you want to read it in Italian for some reason, My friend Martina has done the translation, and I'm sure she's done an excellent job. And another book that has recently entered the top 5 favorite books is a book that I will rave about for ages, because I have not seen that recommended once. Not on Bookstagram, not on BookTube, nowhere. So this book is called Biography of X. So this is it. I'm not sure why I'm holding it this weirdly. Give me a second. This is it. So you can see that it's still hardback. So I don't think the paperback has come out yet. It's quite a recent release, but not as recent because the library had it. So this is a book inside a book. So it's called, as I said, it's called Biography of X. And X in this book is an artist. X is the name of this artist. She's a multimedial artist who's married to CM. I know these initials are a bit confusing, but she's married to CM, who is also a woman. And when X dies, there's just so many questions that her widow is left with. We're also talking about a book that's set in an alternate universe where America has been split into different territories. You have the Western territories, you have the Northern and the Southern territories. And the Southern territories have been kind of segregated, very religious based, and apparently this is where X comes from. But it's her widow, it's up to her widow to kind of uncover this web of secrets that her wife left behind. And I hope I'm doing it a little bit of justice. It's really hard to explain what this book is really about, but it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully written, and it does beg a lot of questions on the role of art in society and the role of an artist in society, and what would happen if gender roles as well in art were reversed. Not to mention that I think it's a beautiful analysis of identity and whether identity as a construct, as a thing, impacts the way we live and the way we construct our relationships. So if you're interested, this is a really great book. So the other 2 books that I don't have in physical form with me just here are Joans Room by James Baldwin, which I think it's a book that everybody should read. I think that James Baldwin is one of the most talented, most relevant writers. Would you consider it our time? I'm not sure. But of the last 100 years, the last 50 years. And he was right on so many levels, on so many topics. And I've read quite a few of his books. And I just absolutely adore the way he writes about the human condition and the way he was so capable of getting into his own characters' heads and just express every single thought and feeling in such a marvelous way. And Joans Room is quite a small book if you haven't read it, but it really packs a punch, and I think it's one of his best works. I also have it as a favorite because it reminds me of my first trip to Paris when I was around 16 or 17. Yeah, you might think, why is a teenager reading Joans Room? Good question. I was a very precocious teenager when it came to reading. So that's why I was reading James Baldwin at the tender age of 16. But I never forgot it, and I can't recommend it enough. There's a lot of fantastic editions of this book out there. Mine, I just remember that it had a really pretty leafy cover. And then I did a giveaway on my blog years ago, and I gifted it as a present to the person who won. And I really hope that she loved it as much as I did. And then the last book on our list on my list is called Mama's Boy, and it's by Dustin Lance Black. So if you're in the queer community, or if you've been online at any point in the past Olympics, you might have seen some stories about Tom Daley. He is a British diver who's just retired fully from diving, and I got to know Tom Daley, not personally, but I learned about him years ago. I think it was shortly after he's coming out on YouTube. He's also very active on YouTube. He has a knitting shop and all that. He's adorable. He's very funny. And so he came out, I think it was 2012, and that was around when I made my first visit to London. And I remember going to Madame Tussauds and seeing his statue and remembering that, oh, he's the guy who came out. And at the time, it was still quite new to have these many celebrities being out. And all of this to say that Dustin Lance Black is Tom Daley's husband. But he's not just that. He is an excellent writer and a very talented screenwriter. He won an Oscar in the early 2000s, or was that 2009? Something like that, for the film Milk, that detailed the election of Harvey Milk in San Francisco. And yeah, he won he won an Oscar for that. And then after that, he went on to directing or writing some other really interesting pieces, including a mini-series that I highly recommend called When We Rise. And what is interesting about Dustin Lance Black is that he grew up Mormon. Apologies. He grew up Mormon in Utah. He was the youngest child of three. He was a middle child of three. He had a very complicated relationship with his mom, and this book called Mama's Boy is mainly about his relationship with his mom, who was really conservative, and but despite that, she came to understand her son. His mom was also heavily disabled, and because of polio, and it's also, this memoir is also an homage to his mom's strength and the way she rallied for him. And I think one of the most beautiful teachings of this book is how we should look, and we should look at the people and their hearts instead of focusing on their background and their and what system they believe in the sense that I think if we were all to connect in a human way, it would make us so much stronger and so much better than if we keep on adhering to these systems that are designed to divide us. And this is something that I'm going to talk about in other videos, but I think this is an excellent memoir. And if you're not the biggest fan of memoirs, but you do like documentaries, Dustin Lance Black has also written and directed his own documentary based on his memoir. And also, the man follows me on Twitter, so I've always been very proud of that. So yeah, these are the 5 books that I have chosen to tell you about for this first video on YouTube. And I hope that you recognize some of these. I hope that you are inspired by some of these. And if you haven't read them, I highly recommend them. And so yeah, this is the end of my first YouTube videos. I hope I wasn't being too annoying, and I hope that you're gonna stick with me through my next videos, because I really have a lot of interesting recommendations and topics to talk about. I think in my channel you will see some books that are not necessarily popular on BookTube or on Bookstagram because of their specificities, or other reasons, I don't even know. But I'm sure that you will find something that you haven't read before. And I hope that it can enrich your reading journeys.